Welcome and thank you all for joining us on October the 8th, 2025 here about the U12 and U13 leagues and the town hall associated with them. Before we get going, we want to make sure that we welcome everyone and acknowledge the land upon which we've settled and live on. And in the spirit of reconciliation, we acknowledge that we live, work, and play on the traditional territories of the Blackfoot Confederacy, so the home of the Siksika, the Kainai, the Piikani, the Tsuut'ina, the Stoney Nakoda Nations, the Métis Nation Region 3, and all people who make their homes in the Treaty 7 region of southern Alberta. I would encourage you to be curious about the traditional peoples and the Indigenous people of Canada and their stories and how they are the keepers of the land upon which we live today. Our mission and vision are quite simple, but quite broad as well. We are dedicated to working with our member organizations to develop, organize, and promote opportunities which allow all participants to achieve their full potential in a safe, meaningful, and inclusive environment. That could be a player, a coach, a referee, a team manager, and we want to be working with our member clubs to make sure that you have a great experience and that soccer is a beautiful game here in Calgary. Our vision is about elevating and uniting our community here in the greater Calgary area, really, through soccer and creating a better culture and creating a better community through the game. We've got 5 values that we try to live by and exhibit on a daily basis. They are around leadership, stewardship, integrity, excellence, and communication. When and if we are not exhibiting these values, we expect to be called out on those because we really try hard to model these and to lead by example when it comes to these values through the soccer and sport system here within Calgary and within the province of Alberta primarily. I'll let you read those. I don't need to rattle those off. These are also found on our website. Basically on the front page there. My name is Jordan Stewart. I am lucky enough and fortunate enough to be the CMSA technical manager, where my portfolio of work really is around trying to work on the game rather than in the game. So my previous experience is through playing and coaching within the game, and I've coached players from kind of U4 all the way through to university age players. Prior to CMSA, I worked for Alberta Soccer as the regional coach for Southern Alberta and their Alberta Recs director, where I was deeply involved in player development programs within Alberta, so provincial teams, Recs, RPC, those kinds of programs, but also through district outreach, where I would help the districts in Southern Alberta here try to evolve the game and try and develop the game within their local region. That obviously took me around the province, primarily in Southern Alberta, but also through the rest of the province as well. And I was lucky enough to get involved with some coach education and helping other people develop and really multiply the effect of what good coaching practice can look like and how it can help the game. I've worked in grassroots clubs in Edmonton. I've worked in the former FC Edmonton Professional Academy with the U18s there. As I've mentioned, Alberta Soccer, youth national team development systems through Recs, colleges, universities, community outreach programs as well. And now I think the most impactful and most valuable role at CMSA in a district governing body. So I've seen a lot. I've been around a lot of it throughout the province here and also a bit nationally. So hopefully that gives you some idea of my background and maybe my lens that I try to approach the game and also soccer in Calgary with. We'll start really quickly so that if these questions are burning in your mind, that you've got the clarity straight away. So what does CMSA do if you're new to CMSA and soccer in Calgary here? And what does your club do? Well, CMSA is the one who organizes all of the matches in your season schedule that you can see here. And your club is going to organize all of the practices and training sessions. So we usually get questions around, when do we train? Well, we don't actually know. That's a club function that they're going to do and they're going to communicate. In terms of placing your child on a team, we don't touch that at all. What we do is we facilitate and work collaboratively with our member clubs to put all of the teams in the most fitting division. And we'll talk a little bit about that process and how that works shortly. Your club is the one who places your child onto a team. Okay, so their evaluation process, what they're looking for, how they're trying to group players, etc., is purely a club function. Okay. In terms of a coaching piece, we organize formal coach education and training for the coaches to complete, whereas your club is responsible to find, retain, and develop the coaches. Okay, so ongoing development, ongoing education within the club is very, very important, as well as how they retain and how they find those coaches as well. From a jersey perspective, we provide the U7 to U9 Grassroots League jerseys from a very generous sponsor in Shane Holmes to the clubs really that order them. Some clubs choose not to, and that's fine as well. Your club, if you don't have any jerseys or socks or shorts or anything like that, your club is the one that you need to go talk to about any of the jerseys and stuff that you're going to need for your child from U10 to U19. So including everyone, hopefully, on this call. I really want to start the conversation around the player, because at the end of the day, this is why we are doing this, and this is what we are doing this for at the very center. Okay, so Canada Soccer's put out this player pathway, and someone might look at this image and say, well, that's not much of a pathway because it's not straight and linear and paved like a highway. And you would be right. What this is this is a Canada Soccer player journey, is the way I look at it. And you are able to see where CMSA actually operates within this player pathway or player journey across the soccer ecosystem, especially locally here. You'll see that CMSA primarily is involved in stages 1, 2, 3, and then stage 7. Someone's probably thinking, well, what about 4, 5, and 6? Well, 4 is ran through the APDL. Okay, so the development leagues there in terms of U14 and above, and the standards associated with that. Players then can move back and forth between these. Okay, so there isn't a defined endpoint, so to speak, but there is transition between them, even all the way through to the community level and the competitive level from potentially an APDL piece. Players then will look to flow through potentially into what would be learn to compete stages. So Rex programs, Vancouver Whitecaps type programs, and then look to potentially flow up as well into things like the Cavalry U18 programs, the Whitecaps MLS residency, youth national teams, etc. And then from there potentially go up as well into senior professional football with the Calgary Wild FC, with the Vancouver Whitecaps, with Cavalry FC, and potentially into senior national teams as well. Okay, so you'll see that within Calgary, there's a lot of different opportunities and there's a lot of different programs that are available locally, which isn't the case typically when you look at it nationally. If you're not in that small percentage of players that do flow up there, well, no problem. There are other opportunities in terms of a college, a university, League One, USL, UWS, all of those opportunities here within Calgary, which is immense. And there are very few cities in this country that can boast that kind of connection within the game in terms of a senior level. When I say senior, that's adult. If that's not your role or your path or your journey either, that's okay. We hope that all players will find a soccer for life journey, whether that's in the major leagues, within men's competitive leagues or co-ed leagues or women's leagues here in Calgary, or just recreationally as well, because there's a lot of opportunity there as well. And hopefully they end up like me, who's now playing in an over 35 league that turns up for the social nature of it and the fitness aspect of it to try to continue to be a part of the game. Okay. Built around that player pathway and framework was a piece called LTPD. LTPD was released in 2008, 2009, so probably just before your children were born, and they hopefully were going through an LTPD style program through their soccer journey to date. You'll see there in terms of the stages and hopefully where they are ending up later on. What LTPD did was provide a framework to develop youth players and children in sport. Okay, so other sports will have LTAD, long-term athlete development. Soccer always has to be different, and we went with long-term player development. Okay, this has gotten a refresh and is now developed into the Canada Soccer Grassroots Standards. And we'll dive into this a little bit deeper in a moment, but I wanted to just give you that background and history about how this has evolved and developed over time from kind of 2008 to 2024/2025 and where we are at locally here in terms of adhering to these standards and what Canada Soccer has put out in terms of best practice and what they would like to see and what they are going to see the game aligned to. This has been hardwired into Canada Soccer's rules and regulations as of 2026. So these are no longer recommendations, these are requirements. Okay, so I want you to think about that as we move forward and discuss this a little bit more. Based on those frameworks, we look to produce the CMSA program handbook. So what we can control from programming is what we look to build out within this program handbook. This is essentially the document that all of the clubs get prior to opening their registration so that they can base their registration off of what the expectations are. So I would ask you a few questions, and you'll find this on our website in the rules and forms area, but maybe give that a quick skim and review it against your club's registration info, because registrations might still be open, and you can maybe reflect on two things. Is it accurate in terms of your club, and is it aligned? Or are we having tier 1 U9 teams? I'd ask you to reflect. I'd ask you to do some thinking around that. The other key piece in the soccer ecosystem that you need to have an awareness of is around club licensing. Well, what is club licensing? Club licensing is a list of criteria that clubs need to satisfy in order to receive a club license straight from Canada Soccer. There's 4 stages of licensing. The first being Standards for Quality Soccer, or as Canada Soccer would call it, the Quality Soccer Provider, the QSP. We here in Alberta call it the SQS. So you'll see all of our member clubs have achieved an SQS license at very minimum. What that is that's 32 criteria that those clubs need to satisfy. And it's essentially a better business bureau for soccer to say, this is a reputable club. They meet certain standards to exist as a soccer club and as a soccer provider. The other stages are MA1 and MA2, and you'll notice that that's not on your screen because there just aren't clubs in Calgary that have pursued that license yet. We have skipped straight to National Youth Club license holders, where there's 142 or 146, I think, criteria around satisfying or to satisfy, pardon me, in order to achieve a National Youth Club license. This is not to say that SQS is worse or National Youth Club license is better. What they do is offer some different things. And what they have done is satisfy different criteria in order to receive that club license. Okay? There are phenomenal SQS programs. There are phenomenal National Youth Club license programs as well. You need to be aware of these criteria. You need to be asking questions around club licensing. You need to be asking questions around club philosophy, how they develop children, what they believe in terms of playing time, how they make sure their coaches are developing and being educated. These are key components that you need to be asking clubs about. And now it's the so what. So what about club licensing? Well, a key piece of what club licensing did is it brought in minimum coaching standards across the country. And what that was is that was divided into two pieces: modified safe sport roster and full safe sport roster. The modified safe sport roster is a bit reduced in comparison to a full safe sport roster requirement. Okay. And you'll see there the age groups that each one falls under. We built that out collaboratively with our member clubs. And it was a discussion that went, well, is it this age and tier? Is it this age? Where is it? Is it when they're traveling, etc.? And we had a really rich discussion around this. And what we found is the line typically landed right in between U11 and U12, where U12 is the one that carries the full safe sport roster requirements. And so what are those roster requirements? Well, it's a minimum, or a for sure, I should say, of a police information check with vulnerable sector search. The coaches also complete respect in sport activity leader that addresses the bullying, abuse, harassment, discrimination problems that can appear in sporting environments and in society, and tries to give them tools about how to reduce those or how to eliminate those within their environments. You'll then see that they would flow down through this depending on the age group, where it would be a learn to train or potentially a soccer for life with a theory and a practical course, and then straight through again as well down into what would be called the safe sport roster. Okay, around making ethical decisions. Okay, so how to decide and how to apply a framework to ethical dilemmas that coaches are going to face. Things like, my star player is a little bit injured right now. Should I play them or should I not? And we work through that in those courses. Making headway around concussion awareness, prevention, and recovery that has gone through a refresh and is genuinely world-class as it is rewritten by the people locally actually as well, that were involved in writing and developing the international consensus statement on concussions. So world-class researchers right here in our backyard that are also going to be looking at CMSA's concussion policy and trying to refine that and better that as this course has improved and has been modified. You'll also see emergency action planning. What do coaches do and what is the plan when or if they're faced with an emergency? When a player breaks their leg on the field, or when a concussion happens, or when something happens, what is the plan and what is their role within that situation? And then lastly, the NCCP rule of two, which is around safeguarding sport and eliminating risk and potentially vulnerable situations. So trying to eliminate those closed door contacts between coach and player, and working towards a scenario and an environment where we have two trained and police clearanced adults associating with a child. Okay, so we're trying to move to that, and these are the safe sport rosters that would be expected of coaches within the U12 plus age groups. And these standards obviously have impacted a lot of people, right? We now have to monitor, we have to audit, we are looking at this, we are controlling processes as well that we can control. And I'll talk about that in just a moment. But it's also on the club. It's on the club to do the right thing, that it's no longer put your club technical director on every single roster because they've done all the education and then it satisfies the roster eligibility. No. Because we know that the technical director is not at 7 games at once. So it's about doing the right thing and making sure all of our coaches and our team officials really are safe sport compliant. And the clubs are being held accountable as well to do what's right, not what's easy. And that their willingness to adhere to these basic standards are going to determine part of their longevity in soccer. So I want to talk quickly about the evolution of this, because this is what previously was required for the 12s and 13s. Have you done your police clearance? Have you done respect in sport? On you go. Now you'll see it's considerably more, and we know it is considerably more. But we also want to ensure that we have high quality training environments that are psychologically and emotionally and physically safe for the participants, and that it is developmentally appropriate for them to be enjoying their soccer journey through. Okay? Is this asking a lot? Without question. But again, this is about us trying to do what's right, not what's easy. To support those coaches, you'll see the practical session that they need to attend. If you are a coach on the call tonight, there are plenty of courses that we've been able to open up and offer. And if they are not currently on our Demisphere platform, they will be in the coming days, especially those in November, December, and February. Those will be added. So we look forward to you registering, to coming and working with a learning facilitator and getting more tools in your toolbox that's going to help you make a better, or help you become a better coach, without question. We also offer additional coach education that's completely free of charge and informal through our technical culture series, where this was the head of coach education and methodology for the Czech FA, and how he's trying to introduce constraints-led approach and ecological dynamics into coaching practice and coaching theory within the Czech Republic. He also instructs the UEFA Pro level courses, so top coaching license in the world, and has now moved on to Slavia Praha, where he's their director of coaching and methodology. Here is a webinar with that's available as well on demand on our YouTube account around what parents need to know from a business side of football. How to deal with agents. What does a professional club look for? How does the system actually work to take young players and turn them into pros? It's a very valuable resource, especially for an age group like this on this call. I would implore you to find this discussion. It's on our YouTube account. If you just type in Calgary Minor Soccer on YouTube, it'll take you there, and please find that session. Chris McKeag was an agent, a FIFA licensed agent. When he did this call, he's now moved on to the Vancouver Whitecaps and is leading the programming here in Calgary. But a phenomenal discussion, and one that is really rich with insights, not relying on the rumor mill and sideline conversations. You can go straight there and get the answers that apply to the FIFA statutes and transfers of players. So when you're approached by someone that says, oh, your son or daughter is quite good, I want to take them over to Portugal, Chile, China, wherever, and they're 12 and 13 years old, you're armed with the right questions and information to then have a discussion, to know that players can't change confederations until they're 18 years old, to know these nuances and details, and to stop the predatory activity within sport, because someone's going to try and sell you the dream at some point. So it's about you having the right knowledge and information to be able to realize the snake oil salespeople and the genuine, honest people. We've also amplified our team official photo ID process. So I mentioned earlier around what we are controlling within the coach education and the safe sport realm. And part of it's around us actually giving out team official ID cards. You'll see here that we are not giving out any ID cards unless this criteria is met. It's really simple, okay? This is step 6 out of a 6-step process in terms of getting a team official ID. Clubs and coaches and team officials were treating it as essentially the second step. Get put on a roster, then I go get a card. Then I try and do all the training. No. We are going to ensure that our sport is safeguarded, that our sport is done properly, and that coaches are doing these pieces before they get a coach ID card. And it aligns really to our codes of conduct and what we expect of people and what we expect of ourselves as well as CMSA. So you'll notice that we have a team officials and a coach's code of conduct. You'll know that we have a parent code of conduct as well. And we've got a player code of conduct. And I'm not glossing over these and moving quickly through these because they're not important. I'm doing that because this is a resource that you can find on our website or play back on this recording on YouTube to really understand what is the expectation there. Because all of us on this call tonight are going to become champions. Okay, we are going to be the ones who set the standard of what's acceptable and not acceptable for this upcoming season. And if we choose to lower our standards, all we're going to do is be wrestling with pigs. And pigs love to wrestle in the mud and the you know what. And when we choose to wrestle with that pig, the pig enjoys it and we just get covered in, well, you know what. Okay, so we are going to be the champions on the sidelines this year of setting a positive culture. And if we need some support or some reminding, well, we have field marshals in place for that as well. They're all designated by an orange armband, and it really empowers one person from each team to speak up on behalf of the referee amongst their fellow parents and spectators to say, hey, take it easy. Like, you're going a bit too far now. Because we are not going to be tolerating the abuse of officials or abuse within our sport. We want to support positive sporting behaviors and encourage parents to cheer, not critique. Okay? Can we be solely focused on providing love and energy and support for our child? Not critiquing the other team or our coaches' decisions or our referees or whatever. Our child. Most important. Support, love, nurture them, and focus the energy there. These people are also expected to be involved in the pregame chat with the referees, the coaches, and the team captains. We know this doesn't happen all the time, but we want to make sure that the referee who's down on the field knows who's up in the stands should there be problems, that they can say, well, let's just take a sec. There you are. You need to be dealing with that and helping me to deal with that. Otherwise, they are going to be leaving. Okay, because we have a great opportunity to make soccer a phenomenal environment to be a part of. And we can't let the detractors and the negative people take away from that. I'm going to pause there for a second, just hit the chat really quickly. Looks like Melissa is smashing it, so I will just continue rocking on. Thank you, Melissa, yet again. And there we go. I'll talk about two initiatives globally that we are trying to do to improve that culture within sport, okay? EmpowerHER, which is around women and girls in sport, and the Teal Shirt campaign, and what we're trying to do with our referees. I'm going to start with EmpowerHER to begin with. We launched She Can Ref in association and really powered by the CDSRA, so the local Calgary Referees Association, to help to connect and develop female officials in a female-only space that is safe and they can chat about the dynamic about being a female official. We also put on female-only entry-level courses to become a referee, led by female instructors as well. We're doing female-only coaching courses that are being put on the Demosphere website now. We're going to be hosting a Free Soccer Friday that's girls only, in honor of International Women's Day as well. And while this still isn't enough to be changing the tide of women and girls' involvement within the game, we're trying. We are trying, and we are looking for allies. We are looking for support. So if there are ideas, if there are initiatives, if there's grants, if there's anything that anyone comes across that they feel might amplify the female game, we'd love to hear it. We would love to hear it because we need other people and we need support for this as well. In terms of our referees, we are bringing in record numbers of referees right now to make sure that games are filled. Okay, I've already mentioned She Can Ref and the female-only courses, but I want to spend a moment as well to acknowledge Kids Sport and Project Ref. If you're on this call tonight and your child's receiving Kids Sport funding to play, they're actually eligible to get their referee training and any upgrading that they do completely free of charge from Kids Sport. So Kids Sport has stepped up enormously and is prepping kids to have a career and to find life skills through refereeing. We're talking about conflict resolution, communication, confidence, decision-making, problem-solving, professionalism. Our young referees in this city are some of the brightest stars that I could ever imagine that come out of any youth environment. They are well put together. They are well spoken. they are confident, and I am absolutely thrilled by how refereeing is shaping these young people. But we all have a responsibility to help shape them that way as well. So I'll talk about that in a moment. Part of that responsibility that we have is around the Teal Shirt campaign. Teal Shirt campaign is an acknowledgement and an awareness that that person that's down on the field, that might be their first game ever. That might be the first time they've ever blown the whistle, and all of the eyes go on to them. We know they're going to make mistakes, and we're actually really comfortable with that. Because if we're expecting perfection from our young learning referees, then we have to expect perfection from our young learning players. And we should be expecting perfection from our volunteer coaches as well. Perfect is not going to be the answer. We need these young referees to be involved so they have time to develop and they have enough experience to become better referees, so that you have enough referees and you have enough good referees by the time your children are U15 and U17 and playing in adult leagues in a soccer for life context. It starts here though. It starts here. And we hear horror stories every single year of a young female referee, a young male referee, a young referee that it's their second or third game and they leave the field crying because someone has berated them. They're going to make mistakes. Let's accept it. Let's champion that and let's support them. And part of how we're trying to support them is through mentorship. You will see mentors at the facilities. You'll see mentors on the sidelines. You will see a second official that we're trying to match up with an older, more veteran referee with younger, newer referees. This mentorship program aims to try and wrap a big woolly coat around them and help them develop and feel safe and confident through refereeing. And also connect them into the referee community, which is a beautiful community full of marvelous, fantastic people that are highly professional. And if you're a small business owner, I would implore you that if you see refereeing on someone's CV or resume, give them a chance, because it is a phenomenal way to develop skills. We've also heard the cries around, we need better referees. We know that. And so what are we doing about it? Well, we're putting on monthly education sessions that are as barrier-free as we can make them, where there's no cost to attend. They're offered in both an in-person and a hybrid manner, so an online version. And it's really trying to address the major growth areas that we see from our new referees, from all of the mentorship reports that we get. So we will go through them, find the themes, and develop the education that we need to grow these people on. Okay? Talk about the ugly side a little bit. We have a zero tolerance policy for referee abuse. Okay? This is reportable by anyone, and really it's going to allow referees more powers and more abilities that should they be discriminated against, harassed, abused, they can take timeouts in matches and just say, woof, we're not doing this anymore until this gets fixed. Or they can actually abandon matches as well, and they won't get replayed. No one gets the points. So I would implore you to consider your behavior and what comes out of your mouth with these kinds of tools that a referee has. The key takeaway from this whole policy, if you're a coach, just coach. Don't question them. Referees don't change their mind anyway. It's useless trying to influence or question them. You don't need to influence referees if you're trying to influence your players to be better. For parents, it's about cheering, not abusing. And for players, if you're on this call as well, it's about playing, not dissenting. Okay? So really, really clear. And if you want to review more of that policy, it is available on our website. I mentioned a pregame script. We want to humanize people. We want to connect people before games, before it starts getting spicy and before tempers start to get raised, and really have some role clarity. You'll see this piece here. As a referee, I've made a commitment and I'm learning. Looking forward to supporting the game, so please have some empathy. Let's just have a great game, okay? It's also giving coaches an opportunity to understand what they can expect from the referee. Hey, listen, I call it really, really tight. Or, hey, the players can play today, all right? But we're going to be within reason, all right? It gives that conversation window an opportunity to begin, and it gives an opportunity for understanding and humanization, okay? If on the very rare occasion, because we have about a 99.96% game assignment rate in indoor seasons right now, that referees pick up the game, but maybe their car breaks down on the way there, or there's a family emergency 45 minutes before kickoff, and there is potentially a no-show without either the center official or the second official. Well, both teams have to agree on who's refereeing the game. The game still gets played. And if the teams want, they can say, you referee the first half and I'll referee the second half. Okay. Key piece as well, have a knowledge of who your parents and siblings are. Because if there's a trained referee that's present, they can put their name on the game sheet and they actually get paid for refereeing the game as well. Okay. So opportunity there as well. I'll talk quickly about a couple of global pieces that are coming up in this season. Well, we've got Santa Soccer Saturday for the U7s to 9s planned for December 13th. So if you've got younger siblings in your family, maybe compared to this call, that's the date for that piece. And then as usual, our Family Day Classic, sponsored by Allstate, is coming back February 13th to 16th. It is a massive tournament. It blows the doors off every year, and registration is always really stretched. So I'd encourage you, if you're interested in registering for that tournament, to register early. Okay. Another key program that CMSA is running and supporting is Free Soccer Friday. Free Soccer Friday is the most beautiful, chaotic, unstructured environment that you can imagine. It's a drop-in soccer opportunity where we believe that your social and life skills can really be amplified. When a child walks in, how do they introduce themselves? How do they make friends? How do they ask what the game is? How do they integrate with new people they've maybe never seen before? That is an uncomfortable reality that they are going to have for the rest of their life, whether it's in a job interview or asking out a love interest or whatever it is. But trying to develop those social and life skills, including advocating to get themselves on a field if they've been sitting on the bench for too long and they're not playing in the game. And it's also about connecting the community. So whether the players are developmentally advanced, whether they're new to soccer, it doesn't matter, because this program was designed for two reasons. One, to have a more barrier-free, accessible soccer opportunity that removes, the facility booking, etc., out of the equation as a barrier. But the second piece was actually also a talent development piece, because if you dig down into talent development research, there's common threads through many, many articles and many papers. It's around having unstructured environment and opportunities for unstructured play, having opportunities for mixed age play, having accessible facilities, and that then is creating a climate where maybe older, more developmentally advanced players are showing the younger players an idea that then the younger player tries and experiments with and refines and masters and creates intrinsic motivation. It also promotes potentially some leadership, a different competition as well. That if I know I'm up against a smaller, weaker player, do I beat them 1v1 all the time, or can I look to combine and work on something different in terms of my skill set? But those are common themes. And really, when you think about it, that environment could promote great talent development. And the question then is raised around, well, what about our system that is fixed age, highly structured, and fairly restrictive in terms of facilities? It gives you a different opportunity and a different advantage. Some of the upcoming dates, if you're interested, if you've never been out, if you go every time, etc., are October 17th, November 7th, and November 14th. They're all at Calgary Soccer Centre, and you will notice the times and the field. There is an opportunity to register in advance as well. So you need to make sure that you do that on the Calgary Miners Soccer website. Okay, so I'll leave that piece with you, and I will dive into the chat here just for a second. Melissa's even providing the links. Unbelievable. Top notch, Melissa. Okay, nothing else for me to do. So I will jump back in. You'll notice that I left up the adverse driving conditions policy on your screen. Really, this is an acknowledgement that all of the CMSA games go ahead unless the city of Calgary closes the roads. Okay, so that should be really well known by this point. If you're a seasoned veteran in the soccer world, that should be the case. Okay, if the city of Calgary closes the roads, I'm sure we will communicate through Demisphere. So please give your email a look, or any of the socials that we have. I would also implore you to connect in with our most important campaign that we have going. Fields for Our Future is a massive campaign, because our current state in terms of facility access and facilities that we have is scary. And I don't want to paint a doom and gloom picture, but it's getting to a breaking point where we will be approaching the harsh reality that we have to say no to kids playing, especially in the indoor season, because we're experiencing unprecedented growth, and we are excited but also nervous about the home World Cup that's coming, and the traditional bump in registration even further that comes after that. In 2023, we had in 2024, we had 222 games rained out just in an outdoor season as well. Because some people just say, well, there's loads of outdoor soccer fields. Well, yeah, but 222 games got rained out. This past year, the number was almost 500 games got rained out, and that was without any smoke or anything as well. So it's not just a winter piece, it's a year-round piece. And the solutions that we're advocating for are around field houses. Bubbles are great, field houses are better. Okay? We want to also enhance existing infrastructure to bring it up to modern standards of the game, so that playability and safety is paramount, and that there is a quality experience when the players, coaches, referees, etc. are there at the field. We also want to increase the collaboration with the city and put soccer at the bargaining table and at the table when there are discussions around the design of soccer spaces, and that we actually receive a proportionate access to those city-owned soccer spaces. Okay? To give you an overview of the campaign impact and progress, the key piece here is this number. 5% of the database has signed up to support it. 5%. Imagine the impact if people that are on this call tonight go and register, because there's 5% of the 52 or 60 odd that are on this call tonight. Imagine the rest of you and what kind of impact you can have. It is dead simple as well. I'll describe it in a moment. You'll see that we are trying to make waves on social media. We are engaging with provincial and municipal councillors, MLAs, even some MPs as well. And also the candidates, as there is a municipal election coming up, and I would encourage you to be asking questions around what their plan is for soccer infrastructure. You'll see as well that we've been highlighted in the media, and we are continuing to advocate and continuing to ask candidates to take the pledge and to prioritize soccer within City Council. So our ask, I haven't asked anything of you yet other than comparing the program handbook and your club's registration. This is a bigger ask, I promise. Our ask is to join the movement and become a supporter. You can use that QR code on your screen right now. It is dead simple. You enter your email, you get periodic emails. You literally click one link, The email auto generates and you hit send. It takes 10 seconds to then be interacting with all of the elected officials within your region of the city and trying to have a conversation. They reply as well. Okay, so it sparks debate, it sparks conversation, and it makes sure that soccer is kept in the forefront of their mind. Okay, if you have more questions, please reach out to Leslie McLeod, our communications and marketing manager around this, and she'll be happy to help you with that. Okay, I am checking the chat as well. It's a quiet group tonight, really quiet group. And Melissa's also smashing it. So thank you again, Melissa. I'm going to continue to roll on. I said earlier that we were going to talk about the Canada Soccer Grassroots Standards and really what it was and where we are at. Okay. So what we did within CMSA is we said, where are we compliant? Where are we not compliant? Where do we need to ask for a bit of dispensation? And what's not really applicable to even CMSA? What is a club function and role? And so within that audit, this is what it turned out like. Okay, you will see the age groups at the top of your screen. So we're going to be working on this right-hand column and whatever the category is here on the left-hand column. Okay, you'll see that we are not compliant in terms of a practice to match ratio. We start out that way typically within our scheduling, but then with reschedules or rainouts in the summer or smoke or locusts or whatever else, we typically can't meet that. So we're not going to say that we are compliant because we're not compliant, but we also try to find a balance of working with teams and working with clubs to say, you know what, you want to go on that tournament to Red Deer? Okay, well, no problem. We can help you try and reschedule that game, or you have to put some work in to reschedule that game. Okay, so we work with people, or we try to, right? Match formats, compliant in an outdoor sense. We are not at a place where we can play 9v9 with the U12s and 13s in an indoor sense yet. You'll see the goal sizes. We have worked alongside, and I want to actually applaud the member clubs because they have worked tirelessly to become compliant, especially at U12 when they supply the fields and goals with the goal size and the proper goal size for these children to play with. Okay, ball sizes, match minutes and match durations, okay? Maximum match time per player per day if it is a festival format, and what the call-up structures try to look like. You'll see that our roster sizes are not compliant because we have aligned to Alberta Soccer's rules and regs and allow for a roster up to 20 players. You'll notice, though, that most clubs are not going that high in terms of player numbers in a roster. They are trying to keep player numbers really low to maximize minutes on the field and player experience. Okay? It actually costs them more to do it that way. All right? You'll notice that they even advocate potentially for a festival style at 12s and 13s, and I can only imagine the therapy that I would need after the inbox trauma should we move to a festival format with the 12s and 13s, but something to consider and ask yourself, why might they consider that? You'll notice as well, referees, throw-ins, offsides, substitutions, retreat line, we are all compliant there. Outdoor, 9v9. Indoor, we have a modified 7v7 laws of the game, okay? Because it is a smaller space, and we are trying to represent the 9-a-side and 11-a-side game in a 7-a-side context within our modified laws of the game, okay? We also did it for the backside, okay? The backside looks like this. You'll see a lot of not applicable. There's pieces of this that we control and we help influence, but you will also see not applicable, okay? You'll see here, team travel time. We are asking for dispensation because there are moments in outdoor where we say have a Springbank team that plays a team out of Strathmore. That's an hour-plus trip, potentially. So are we fully compliant? No, but we're going to ask for dispensation on some of that because that's some of our realities of our soccer ecosystem. You'll also see something down here, which is, I don't know, may be controversial, and I'm just going to square it off and then zoom in. You'll see scores and standings. No scores or standings for the 12s and 13s. We're not compliant yet there because our 13s have scores and standings. And we are working through a process of how does that evolve? How does that transpire as well, okay? So work to be done. And we're being really open and transparent with where we are. I would ask you to find this document online. I would ask you to then go and compare it to what your club gives you. Okay? What's their practice to match ratio look like? Right? Is it 2-to-1 or 3-to-1? Or are you being told, no, these kids need to train 5 days a week? Because I'll tell you, some of our data and some of our stats are starting to lead us to a place of the players who train 4, 5, 6 times a week at young ages are the ones who just burn out of it and become disinterested and don't even last in the game. So some awareness for you, okay? It's an awareness that you can, again, have good conversations and ask great questions. You'll also notice pieces within the CMSA leagues around age exemptions. Formerly, this was called biobanding, okay? This is a player placement technique and developmental strategy, really, that groups players and finds players good environments based on their biological maturation, not based on their chronological age. So what does that mean? Well, within maybe a U13 age group, because of this nasty devil called puberty, you might have an age range of 4 to 5 years in biological maturation of children who haven't hit puberty yet or aren't hitting puberty yet, and some that are already shaving, right? So we need to make sure that we acknowledge that people and children develop at different rates. So this is a process where the players can look to find a home and look to find a place that's right for them. With this, we have a process in place, okay, where we ask the clubs to essentially apply for those players, and then the club submits developmental plans, okay, in terms of what they're going to be doing with this player to help them catch up, to help them develop, etc., etc., okay? And we have basic expectations around this with them that is also outlined in our rules and regulations. Our expectations is that clubs are not just age exempting players to sandbag and win games and have ringers down there, right? Our expectation is that they're doing it for the right reasons. The right reasons could be our child's been held back a year and goes to school with this player, and that's their only ride, and therefore this is the only team in our club that they can play for. Well, that might be a reality. And we want to try and do our best to make sure that that child can still play the game, while also being sensitive that if there's an unfair competitive advantage, that we look to examine that as well. So what is our process? Well, again, in an effort to be transparent, this is our process. The club's going to submit an age exemption application to CMSA through the website. We are going to look at it and say, is there another team? Sorry about that. Is there another team at a lower tier within the same age group in the same club that could accommodate that player? If there is, well, let's talk about why this development needs to happen in this way and not in that way. So submit the development plan and we're going to have a chat about it. If there isn't that opportunity with that team, well, okay, has the club made reasonable attempts to find another club at the same age group and tier for that player? Yes or no? If they have, submit the correspondence to CMSA with the development plan and we'll evaluate. That correspondence essentially says, hey, we've tried. We've tried because we would love to see this player at their own maybe level, their own age, etc. But there just isn't an opportunity for that. Well, if you haven't even done that work, we're not going to have a discussion yet, okay? So key pieces there. What does the indoor season look like? Well, the indoor season is going to look largely like 14 randomized games through lots of the divisions. Some divisions are quite large. Okay, some divisions are more than 15 teams, so it's not a single round robin. Or it's not a double round robin if you had 8 teams. Some of them have, 19, 20 teams in it. So it's 14 randomized games. This is a decision your clubs have asked for. I want to be really clear about that because I'll talk about how we've built this in a moment, but it was with club input as well. Okay? It's in a 7v7 format. And there is a Challenge Cup at the end of the season with the 13s and some provincials through League Play and Challenge Cup, which I'll talk about near the end of the presentation here. I'm sure this is a very hot topic within lots of households right now, and I apologize that it's a little blurry because the image isn't blown up that big. I want to talk about how CMSA builds the schedule. We ask all of the clubs to put in all of their teams in early September, okay? How many U12 groups, how many U8 groups, how many boys, how many girls, etc. They give us all those. We then organize all of that and we bring all the clubs in and we say, right, have a look at all of these divisions. Are your groups going to have meaningful competition and enjoy their soccer experience based on everyone else who entered their groups in there? And the clubs challenge each other. They say, well, yes, we will. And some might say, well, no, you finished top. You're blowing us out of the water. You need to move up. And we have a discussion around each division. Okay? And the club leaders hold each other accountable because at the end of the day, they're the experts in terms of where the players are relative to the age group and the tier and the player pool really at that age. If I make it out to 1% of games, I'll make it out to 50 games this year. Okay, so I'm not the expert in terms of every single team and knowing all of that. So we rely on them and to challenge each other within that process. After they leave, we finalize it, we send it out, we say, right, have you missed any? Have you forgotten to enter any? Are they in the right spot? Review this and evaluate this. And we usually give them a couple of days to do that. They send it back and say, oh, we forgot this one needs to move, bop, 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 bop. No problem. We finalize those divisions. Then we look to start scheduling. And we have two amazing people in CMSA that go, like when I say work tirelessly, it doesn't even do it justice. Work a ridiculous amount to try and get this schedule right. They are taking all of those divisions across 1,000+ teams, and they're evaluating it against what we get as field permits from the multiple facilities around the city. Those field permits are not consistent. They're not consistent. We don't have, for example, or hypothetically, every Saturday at 4 p.m. at the Calgary Soccer Center, New Dome. We might not have that. So we are making a jigsaw puzzle fit. And someone's going to say, well, don't you just put it into a computer program, hit go, and it spits it out? There is a piece of that that helps when we're building the schedule. But Rachel and Kim go back and manipulate by hand the entire schedule. And they're evaluating things like, we've got a Blizzard versus Rockies game that was slated at the Calgary Soccer Center Dome. You know what? It would be better if they played at Shoaldice or Shane Holmes West Soccer Dome because that's close to home for those two clubs. So we're going to move that over there. Or things like this group has lots of 8 a.m. kickoffs. Your clubs have asked us for two things that conflict. They want ultra consistency, but they also don't want some of those ugly times or ugly times. Well, all sports are feeling this crunch and everyone's got some ugly times. 8 a.m. kickoffs are going to happen. Kickoffs on Sunday during church hours are going to happen. Because if we don't want to have some of those kickoffs and we want to try and be unbelievably bespoke and try and meet the needs of 20-odd thousand players and families across 1,000 teams, we'd never be able to make a schedule. It's that simple. We then release the schedule, which you've all gotten earlier this week. And then everyone says, oh, we want to go on this tournament. We've got this and that, the next thing. And they start rescheduling everything. So then we try to assist in that process and help reschedule. Okay. Then we do it all over again. there's about 5,500 odd games that go on in a season. Okay? So this is a complicated process. This is a difficult process. And what might feel like an unfair schedule to some people, I can assure you that we are trying our absolute best to accommodate a lot of needs and wishes and variables amongst an inconsistent input. Melissa just texted me. It's actually 6,800 games this season. So I undershot the amount of work that Rachel and Kim have done. So 6,800 games. What do you think about that? Think about the 2 or 3 kickoffs that you're unhappy with. Okay? We have goal and field standards for these age groups when they're playing 7-a-side. Okay? 6x18 is the goal size for the 12s and 13s and also 14s plus. It's the biggest 7-a-side goal size that we have. We also have pitch standards around what our expectations are around the pitch. You will see on this diagram a different looking penalty area and goal area compared to what some of our facilities have. We know that the lines that have been stitched in may not look like that. And that's okay. That's okay. This is utopian and what we would love. Obviously, we're not ripping up $1 million plus field to then stitch some different lines in. Okay, so please be aware of that. You'll likely see penalty areas without this small box and without this, the D here. Okay, without that penalty arc. A key tenet that's been introduced into the U12 age group this year that's flown up with the U11s is called open rosters. And there's been a lot of chatter, a lot of questions around open rosters, which honestly amazes me because you've had access to these open rosters when your children were in U10 and U11 and now into U12. So what that tells me is that the clubs really aren't utilizing open rosters in an appropriate way. That's okay. We can work with that. What is an open roster? Well, imagine the sport system we grew up in as people. We were put on a team based on our current ability and given a coach. Who knows if they were good, great, grand, or poor, and away we went for the season. What open rosters do, oh, and sorry, it wasn't actually taken into account that maybe the entire team wasn't at the exact same level. So we had a hodgepodge of, well, some of these are tier 2s, some of them are better. We'll just put them into tier 1 as a melting pot and as a Goldilocks solution, right? Open rosters allow clubs to move players fluidly between their club rosters. Okay? It allows players to maybe go from U12 tier 1 and play in U12 tier 2 if their other team in that club is going to have a really tough game against a really good tier 2 team, that they could bring some players and have them have a different developmental experience as well, where they have to dominate the game. They have to lead. They have to communicate and organize. They might play out a position in that game to help sturdy the back line if they're a central midfielder or whatever it is. But it allows clubs the opportunity to give your children a better developmental experience than locking them to a fixed roster and then saying, oh, by the way, you get some playoff opportunities if you're one of the good ones, right? They can drill down and do a better job at what's right for your child and have their best interests in mind, which is in alignment with the UN Charter and rights for the child. This is where we're moving. It allows clubs to find meaningful competition for their players as well. And the goal of this is not to separate talent, but to expand opportunity. Okay? It's not about having a top team and a lower team. It's ensuring every player is getting meaningful minutes on the field. Okay, and that some developing players or maybe newer to soccer players aren't stuck on the bench and that they're given a chance. Maybe they play in. If they're in a tier 2 team, they go and play in more with a tier 3 team. That's okay. That's okay. And us as parents, we need to trust that our clubs are going to be able to do this in an appropriate manner and trust that they can help develop our children. Playing in another tier that's lower is not a demotion. It's not actually a bad thing. It allows for different opportunities. We constantly think that all we need to do is play up. And I'll give you an example. Tottenham, I don't know if they still do, but at a period, recent period, when players like Dele Alli were coming through, they had a policy where 70% of the time the player would play in their own age. 15% they would play up, and 15% they would play down. So that they could learn skills of how to dominate games, how to turn it on, how to coach, how to organize, how to lead, how to be the one that's relied upon, and how to deal with that pressure. Right? These are skills that we can help develop. Your games are going to look like this: two 25-minute halves for the U12s, two 30-minute halves for the U13s. The 12s, there's no public scores and standings, again, in alignment to Canada Soccer's Grassroots Standards. The 13s, you still have public scores and standings. Expect that to change. Expect that to change next indoor. So if you're in U12, expect no scores, no standings next year in indoor. If some things happen, if they don't, maybe they're still there. We'll wait and see. And obviously your season length there is starting next week up until March the 5th. Okay. We'll speak to how provincial qualification happens for those U13s. Well, pathway 1 is through league standings, where tier 1, 2, and 3 qualifies one team through the league play, and the league champion goes straight to provincials. Okay. Tier 4, 2 teams through league play. That's if the Challenge Cup can't be played within that seasonal length and within the declaration deadlines for provincials. Okay. Pathway 2 is through the Challenge Cup, which I've just mentioned, where a second team qualifies through that. It's a kind of Final Four piece at the end of the league, a playoff, if you will. And the Challenge Cup champion is going to go to provincials. Should the league champion and Challenge Cup champion be the same team, the league runner-up is the one who qualifies. Okay? I'm going to put this out as a disclaimer at the bottom here. We get lots of anger and venom come the end of the season from people who are in out-of-district clubs. Places like Strathmore, Chestermere, Airdrie, Canmore, Springbank, Okotoks, Lethbridge, etc. You do not participate in the Challenge Cup because you qualify for provincials through your own district. For example, okay, Cochrane is in Big Country District based on the map that's carved out by Alberta Soccer. You're not a part of the Calgary District. Airdrie is its own district. Okotoks, Springbank, Foothills District. Okay, I could go on, but it's a different district that qualifies through provincials. Okay, so we're really happy to have everyone qualify through CMSA and have 4 or 5 teams from CMSA go to provincials. But we are working with those district representatives to not take away their provincial qualification mechanism in exchange for league play. We believe that you should still qualify through your district. Okay, so let's have some awareness around this, okay? And let's not, if I'm in an Okotoks environment, send an angry email that we get shortchanged out of the Challenge Cup. We now know, again, we are the champions that can go forward, okay? In an effort to be ultra transparent, because this is what's asked for within the surveys, this is what the player fees look like for CMSA. And again, this is in that program handbook that you have access to, that you can readily go and find. Okay? The U12 tier 1s and 2s, U12 really is 239.25. That's what we collect from the club. Okay? The 13s 244.50. From that, money goes off to Alberta Soccer. Okay, so $10 a player goes to Alberta Soccer. What's left in CMSA is $229.25 per player. Okay, that boils down to $16.38 or $16.75 if you're in U13 per match day. And that's what we've broken it down to for you, right? There is far more value in training than there is in matches as well, okay? So someone's going to say, well, wait a minute, I paid my club X amount of dollars. Well, the rest of it is staying in your club, okay? Have a conversation with your club about that. Ask them to break it down for you. Because where does that portion that comes to CMSA go? Well, the vast majority is actually straight to booking fields for games and paying referees and those league-related expenses. That's where the vast majority goes. There's a small amount that goes to contribute towards future facility projects and upgrades, like the Shane Holmes West Soccer Dome renovation that no longer has boarded fields, but a beautiful FIFA Pro quality turf pitch that is the only one in Western Canada of that standard. And also that Shouldice bubble that is going up next week and will be up for our indoor season, okay? A portion of it also goes as a donation to Kidsport because Kidsport is kicking in just to soccer alone about $1 million a year in terms of fee assistance. So we want to make sure that we're helping to replenish that to help keep sport accessible for all. As I've mentioned, Alberta and Canada Soccer take a portion of that as well because we are members of their organizations as well. And a small portion helps to pay for the CMSA staff to ensure that Calgary Soccer's efficiently run and continues to innovate. And we try to run it as efficiently as possible and as innovative as possible to align to best practice. This is a key piece. This is not an if, this is more of a when sometimes, okay? So if or when an injury does happen on the field or at training, okay, you've got to go see a doctor. Get a doctor's note and a diagnosis from the doctor, even if they're not a sport med doc. Because what that does is it allows you to start the insurance claim process. And that insurance claim form needs to be filled out within 30 days of that injury. Okay? If you miss that window, you know how insurance companies are. They will not be covering you. Okay? What happens then? Well, you use your personal insurance first, and then the Alberta Soccer Insurance kicks in after that. Those funds have been exhausted. Okay? Depending on the injuries, depending on the time away, depending on lots of factors, physio and rehab expenses can add up incredibly quickly. So I would implore you that if your child gets injured, just fill out the form, right? Get the doctor's note, fill it out, because this could be a very expensive process at some point. Okay? I want to make sure that you have awareness on that. The form is on Alberta Soccer's website, and they make it fairly simple to find there as well. Okay? With that, I'm going to conclude, and I'll jump into the Q&A and the chat here in a moment. I want to leave you with this image. We can make considerable progress if we're all pulling the game in the similar, not the same, but in a similar direction. Okay? You'll notice on the left-hand side, I think this is where we were 4, 5, 6 years ago, with clubs pulling in different directions, CMSA, ASA, all over the place. We have got a large amount of clarity, and we've got a large amount of direction, and we're starting to pick up some critical mass within that movement and velocity as well. So I'd encourage you to stay on board. I can encourage you to get on board if you're not, because we're going to move this game forward very quickly. And we're going to continue to do that with tough conversations. We're going to continue to do that with care and guidance. And we're going to continue to do that with you. So on that, I thank you. Genuinely thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedules tonight. Maybe sacrificing some sleep or sacrificing Dancing with the Stars tonight to learn. And I want to acknowledge your curiosity, and I want to acknowledge your contributions as well through the chat. And if you're so inclined, we'd love if you could follow us on social media. We disseminate information from there and content on a regular basis. And we try to be both informative but entertaining as well, right? Because we want to bring people into the game, and we want to make sure that you've got resources that are available to you as well on the platforms that you frequent as well. So from the bottom of my heart, a genuine thank you. I can't wait to see you on the pitch. And if you see me floating around the center, please tap me on the shoulder, say hello, introduce yourself. I'm more than happy to have conversations with people and to take feedback as well. So happy to engage in more dialogue and happy to continue this conversation. Okay. Dive into the chat. Melissa's done a phenomenal job, has made my life incredibly easy. We'll stick around for a few minutes. And if you've got kind of a burning question, feel free to throw it in there. If you don't want to, you can always email us as well. Okay, I'll leave this on the screen while we answer some questions, and we can look to get back to you as quickly as we can. There's a question around girls who get new ear piercings that can't remove the earring. Are they able to tape up the ear? They are not able to, and we've been really clear with our referees around jewelry that it needs to be removed. So expect that. Expect referees to be asking for that to be removed. And it might just be remove it for the game, throw it back in as quick as you can after the game so the hole doesn't seal back in. But taping it up is no longer acceptable. Great question though, and I appreciate that question. Okay, something around member-to-member transfer deadlines or in-club deadlines as well. Melissa is on it, given the information exactly where it needs to go. I don't have a ton more to say. I feel like I've tried to cover a lot of bases tonight. Is it required to have a first aid kit per team? I heard from a coach this was now a CMSA requirement. I have not heard of that requirement, so to speak. I would say as a prudent coach and a prudent club, I would expect that was provided for teams and included in what would be your typical kind of coach's bag that you would receive, much the same as soccer balls, bibs, cones, etc. I would be very, very surprised if that's not given out. Clearly, it's not though. So, yeah, I would highly recommend a first aid kit is part of that bag. 7v7 format due to space limitations for U13s. Oh, it's a great question. Really, really great question. 7v7 is the format for everyone from U10 all the way through to U19. We would love to be able to offer expanded formats. Okay? We want nothing more than to play 9-a-side, play 11-a-side, right, throughout the winter. The realities is it's a numbers game. We are choosing to not cap programming to ensure that kids can play. Okay? We want to move the game towards 9-a-side through the winter. We want to move towards 11-a-side. We can't do that without your support with facility advocation and advocating through our fields for our future campaign. It's a key piece. It's a key piece. So would we like to move that forward? 100%. We simply cannot yet. Yet being the key word. Okay. But we have a lot of conversations internally about this, so appreciate that. Throw-ins of U12 and above, yes. Dribble-ins, pass-ins are not applicable. It is a throw-in environment, U12 plus. And if the U12 to 19 modified laws of the game are not on the website yet, they should be. If they are not yet there, they will for sure be as of tomorrow morning by 11 a.m. Yeah, for people who might be new, we're happy to help. We know that this is a lot of information. We know that it's maybe in some ways a little different as well. We're more than happy to help and to guide and to handhold, to support in any way that we possibly can, to try and smooth the journey out as well. Okay, I think the chat is starting to slow down a little. Usually some people wait around to see if there's any last golden nugget that they can get. Again, if you've got no questions now, a recording of this is always put up onto our YouTube, so you can always look to access that as well and review maybe the last 3 minutes that you might miss as well, okay? Are there guidelines around how early/late practices can go? That would be lovely. Okay. It'd be lovely if we could put guidelines to say 11-year-olds cannot train past 8:30. The realities are we will get to that place when we have even greater facility access. We can't put a guideline on things like that is simply unattainable by both us or the member clubs in terms of what their scheduling looks like as well. Because you have to think about it as well. They will get field permits as well, potentially, or they get gym permits, or they get facility permits. That might not be consistent as well, and they are doing the best that they can. And I know that clubs take these pieces into consideration like we do as well when we are scheduling games and how late we are scheduling games. If for some reason you have a 8:30 or 9 o'clock or something kickoff, it's likely because there was no other option. And these are some of the realities that we face right now. We'd love to be able to make those, but we simply can't given the ecosystem we exist in right now. Okay. We are going to sign off for the evening. Once again, thank you to all of you who have gone the distance with us. Appreciate your curiosity, your questions, your comments. I want to acknowledge that, and I want to applaud you for that as well, because it's not every parent or coach or manager or whoever that's going to invest the time and energy into this like you have. So you're a special group. I feel honored to be working with you and alongside you. So thank you so much. I hope that there was value in tonight, and I hope that there was some great pieces. I look forward to seeing you on the pitch and around the pitch, really, at a center this indoor season. And like I say, if you see me, tap me on the shoulder. If you've got questions, more than happy to answer. And if I don't have the answer, I'm committed to making sure that I get you the answer. Okay? So thank you all. I'm going to end things now and wish you all good night and have a great season, this indoor 25-26 season.